When we think of World War I, we often focus on the major European powers and the significant battles on the Western and Eastern fronts. However, World War I was indeed a global conflict that had ripple effects across continents, including Latin America. While the region was not a central theater of the war, it played a role that shaped its history and relationships with the world. Neutrality and economic opportunities. As World War I erupted in 1914, Latin American countries, for the most part, opted for a policy of neutrality. This decision was driven by several factors. Firstly, Latin American nations were geographically distant from the epicenter of the conflict in Europe. Secondly, many countries in the region had limited military capabilities and did not see direct threats to their sovereignty. Lastly, Latin America was experiencing an economic boom, with exports of goods like minerals, agricultural products, and oil in high demand from the warring European powers. Economic opportunities fueled Latin America's neutrality stance. Countries like Argentina and Brazil benefited greatly from exporting food and raw materials to Europe. The demand for these goods led to economic growth and prosperity, known as the Diplomacia de los Cañoneros, where American and European nations sought to protect their interests in the region. Impact on trade and diplomacy. Latin American neutrality during World War I had a significant impact on international trade and diplomacy. While some nations remained firmly neutral, others, like Brazil, shifted their alliances and trade agreements. Brazil, for example, initially favored the Allies but later switched to a more pro-German stance due to economic pressures and political shifts. The United States also played a vital role in Latin America during World War I. The U.S. government extended its influence in the region through the Monroe Doctrine, and President Woodrow Wilson's administration adopted a more interventionist approach in the name of protecting democracy and economic interests. This approach led to military occupations in countries like Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua. Legacy and consequences. World War I had a lasting impact on Latin America. While the region did not experience the direct devastation of Europe, it did face economic consequences when the war ended. The post-war period brought decreased demand for Latin American exports as European nations shifted their focus to reconstruction. Moreover, the war had a profound influence on Latin American politics and diplomacy. Many countries in the region began to rethink their positions in the global arena. For instance, Brazil and Argentina sought to diversify their trading partners and reduce dependency on Europe. These changes marked a shift toward greater political and economic autonomy for Latin American nations. Conclusion. While Latin America was not a battleground in World War I, its involvement was significant in terms of trade, diplomacy, and the long-term consequences it had on the region. The war's economic opportunities and the subsequent shifts in alliances and policies reshaped Latin America's relationship with the world. World War I served as a catalyst for change, prompting many Latin American nations to reevaluate their positions on the global stage and seek greater self-sufficiency.